Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Why Are We Like This, a Heartstopper podcast. I'm Ashley, she, her.
And I'm Alyssa, she, they. And today we are finally, again, back to talk about Season 2, Episode 7, Sorry.
Anxious noises.
Before we get into anything, I would just like to share in my notes document, right? I have my notes, like the episode details, right? And then before I started anything else, let it be known that I have been low-key dreading this one for a while. And I was correct.
It's a good episode. It's just heavy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heaviness in it.
There's a lot, and there's just a lot of the worst characters in this episode.
Getting highlights.
Yes. Do you have any, like, Instagram posts, comments, messages from folks?
I do.
I assume.
Yeah, so on Instagram, Sophie Gruden, I'm not sure how to say it, commented on our collage of the gay district scene and said, "Did anyone else notice the queer couple kiss in the background twice? It's out of focus because we are staring at Nick and Charlie, but you can see their heads tilt towards each other in the background, almost as if that's the next step for Nick and Charlie in their future." And I am a puddle on the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch for that, but because I haven't had a chance since. But that was a great comment. Thank you for letting us know to be on the lookout for that, because that's adorable. Also, I recently came across the story of how Jane and Julio met on Alice's website. It's posted. I guess it started like a Tumblr question, and it just kind of developed into Alice writing this story on Tumblr. And so she's compiled it all into one like succinct story on her website. And it is so cute and makes me have so many different feelings. Did you get a chance to read it?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I'm going to save all my thoughts then. Maybe that's something we can talk about in our season 1 wrap up, but like, it's very much worth the read, and everyone should go read it.
Yeah, you sent it to me, and then I just was like...
Yeah, that's, fair. I will probably toss the link in the show notes for this episode so people can find it if they haven't read it. And then my last note kind of leads us into the beginning of the episode. I love that our final 2 episodes of the season both start out with Baby Queen songs.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I thought it was the last 3 because I was thinking about...
Nobody really cares.
Yeah, but there was an episode in between.
I have a story really quick. I never had things for this part, but I have a story. And it's a teacher story.
Yay!
So the other day, I decided if you guys don't know, in the Discord, we did a friendship bracelet exchange for the holidays, and the person who sent me mine is incredible, and my bracelet said Beacon of Learning on it, which I cried my eyes out when I got it, and I wore it to work the other day just because I was feeling like wearing a bracelet, and I was helping some of my students with their essays, and one of them was like, "What does your bracelet say?" And I told them, and they were like, "Huh?" And I was like, so there's this episode of Heartstopper where they say this, and I didn't mention the podcast because boundaries.
Right.
So I was telling my friend that I wanted that line from this one teacher on a t-shirt. And we did this like bracelet exchange, and that friend, who is in fact a podcast listener, gave me that on a bracelet, and I liked it. So I was wearing it. And then they were like, and I have mentioned Heartstopper before, just like as like a book recommendation. And I actually used it when I was talking about theme.
Okay.
As just like an example of theme. And so they were like, after you mentioned it that last time, I was like looking, and she said something about being on Twitch, and she said there was a Heartstopper podcast. She didn't remember the name of it, but I was like, yeah, what was the name of it? I was like, I don't remember. And I was like, yeah, there's a couple of Heartstopper podcasts that I know about. And, like got out of a machine, another kid asked for help, and I ran away.
Yeah.
So student in question, if you're listening to this and you're wondering, no.
It is not me.
It's not me. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm glad that you brought this up though, because that holiday bracelet exchange was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I treasure my bracelets so much. And they also sent, I think both of us got Monster Munch and the Dairy Milk Oreo bar.
Neither of which I have eaten yet, which is partially your fault.
Rude!
I said partially.
Okay, well, it's partially your fault that I ate mine, so.
Okay. Well, in my defense, I spent most of December curled up in a ball.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. So, to fill everyone in, we both got it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to text Alyssa and be like, we should try these on mic together, and then we both sucked at communication in December, and so it just, like, never got addressed. And so I was like, oh, because you had yours for, like, a while before I got mine, and so I thought,
a week.
Yeah, well, that's a long time to have a snack, sitting.
Not a snack that you're afraid to try.
So I was like, oh, she probably already ate hers, and that's why she just, like, didn't say anything. And so I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to dip into these Monster Munch and try them. Do you want to hear my reaction, or do you want me to wait until you've had it?
I was just thinking, I was like, do I just say fuck it? And they're in this room.
Just take a bite.
Yeah, let me see. All right. Like, literally, I don't have to get up out of my chair. Yeah. Because I set them aside in this room intentionally because I thought we were doing this on mic.
I'm sorry.
Yes. So this is Monster Munch Pickled Onion.
Yeah, that's also what I had.
I'm scared.
Do you like Funyuns?
I haven't had Funyuns in a very long time.
That's fair. I love Funyuns. So I was super stoked to try these because I was thinking they would be very similar.
Monsters are here forever. The snack is best before. That's precious. Okay. All right. I'm going to do this. I'm scared. Water at the ready. Okay. They're an interesting shape.
They're monster shape.
Sure.
They're supposed to be monster shape.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like.
Yeah, I was not a fan either.
You said you like Funyuns.
I do like Funyuns. I don't think those taste like Funyuns. I don't. They're like sour, and I didn't like that
pickled part.
Yeah, but like Funyuns aren't really sour, but I guess they're just onion. They're not pickled onion.
Yeah, it's the pickled of it all.
Yeah,
because I guess I'll do like a sour cream and onion chip.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was expecting. And, if it were thinner, like, if it, like, it might taste like a sour cream and onion chip, but it's also the, like...
It's like a solid Funyun. Like, instead of the Funyun being just, like, the ring, it's like a solid hunk of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. I ate 2 or 3 of them and then gave the rest of the bag to Zach, who loved them and ate the rest of them. I will say that I got 3 of the Dairy Milk Oreo bars, and no wonder they're Nick's favorite. They were so good. Yeah.
I'm
so
sad.
Good.
I can't eat them, unfortunately, without filling my stomach with rage.
Yeah.
Probably just going to give it to Eddie. I've just been holding on to it.
They're little teeny tiny squares. You might be able to just have one tiny square and give Eddie the rest, just so you can...
Maybe.
I don't know how your body tolerates, like, small amounts.
It's a toss-up, so I'm just going to, like, open it and look at it and see.
Because it's a huge bar.
Yeah,
but when you get in there, it's little tiny squares.
Oh, wow. Those are really tiny little squares. Okay. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a strategic bite. It's not going to have any cookie pieces in it because I can see it. And then we'll just deal. Oh my god, just the chocolate on its own is amazing.
It's very good.
Yeah, gonna be getting myself a gluten-free Cadbury bar.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we discuss this episode of Heartstopper?
Yeah.
Season 2, episode 7, Sorry, was written by Alice Ousman and directed by A. Ross Lynn. And according to Netflix and IMDb, this is the one where Elle keeps big news from Tao, Ben pressures Charlie to forgive him, and Isaac opens up to James. Nick invites Charlie to a tense family dinner. Understatement of the century.
Right. So it starts off
with We Can Be Anything.
We Can Be Anything.
Which is so, like, it just... my note is like, well, this is promising.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm so nervous for this episode. I remember it being a doozy. And then it starts off and I'm like, okay.
I love how the music is like on like full blast, the only thing we hear. And then as soon as Tara's mom knocks, it flips and goes to where we can hear them talking and stuff. And the music is low in the background. That is so effective for me. And like them, like they're in their own little world making out at this point, and like the music is playing and like they can't hear anything because they're like shut out from the world, and then mom interrupts it all.
Yeah. And like, yeah, like the music cuts out and it's really, really great, and they like scramble.
Yeah. And once again, the people in this show do not share a single ounce of subtlety between the lot of them.
No.
Like Darcy looks like a deer caught in headlights. And Tara is like putting on her best, like perfect angel face.
Nothing's fine. Nothing untoward was happening.
And they look suspicious as fuck.
Tara's mom says that her granny would have a heart attack if she knew that the mom was letting Tara's girlfriend sleep over. Tara's like, Granny would have a heart attack if she knew I was a lesbian. And, like, fair, but also, like, mom says no more sleepovers. I'm like, I think that's fair. Like, no more sleepovers. High school age child. I get it, kind of. I think that there's, like, extreme ends, but, like, I definitely, like, you guys are 16?
Yeah. At least no more sleepovers in the same room. I do understand that.
Or, like, if you are gonna, like, you know, some boundaries, like, door open, something like that. Just because they were just, like, fully, like, door closed.
Doing whatever they wanted. Yep.
Yeah.
It also feels like they've, like, this is a breaking point for her mom. So, like, they've been having a lot of these sleepovers. Yeah. Darcy has been avoiding her house a lot lately.
Yeah. Side note, Tara's room is adorable.
Yes, that was going to be my next note, was just to talk about all the things on the wall. There's so many photos of her and Darcy, which is adorable. There's a folklore poster, which is a little bit of foreshadowing for the next episode. I love her mirror, the like neon squiggles. And I love her bed. I love the like rounded bed frame, like very cute.
Yeah. My note, you can tell this is like how much my brain just like does not compute all of these things. Tara's room is so cute. Wait, have we been here yet? I can't remember. My mental timeline is a mess.
We haven't been in her room, but we have seen her texting from her bed.
Right.
So we've seen some of the wall decor, but not all of it. Okay, so then we cut over to Nick, who is in his bed, looking at photos of Charlie in Paris. And, like, as we pan up from the floor, we see his unpacked bag from Paris. We see, like, the big Paris map and the croissant. The plushy croissant is sticking out. And he's flipping through the photos of Charlie at Shakespeare and Company and then everyone at the restaurant. And then he, like, zooms in and notices that this was obviously at the end of the meal. Everybody else's plates are empty, but Charlie's is full. And he's looking really worried. And at this point, he's experienced the effects of Charlie's eating disorder firsthand and realizes how serious it is, like on a deeper level. And you can tell that he is just like fully in over his head and has no idea like where to even start to help.
Yeah.
Which is fair for a 16-year-old boy.
And then... Right, we get Charlie, who's looking at Nick's Instagram post of the two of them at the Arc de Triomphe. And then Charlie gets a message from Ben saying that he saw Nick's post and wants to talk. And I just would like to know, Ben, what in the ever-loving fuck makes you think Charlie owes you anything?
Yeah, where do you get the audacity? Charlie instantly looks stressed and he swipes it away and puts his phone down and looks up into the anxiety void, and it's all I have a lot more to say about this, so I'm just gonna wait until we get there, because this episode, there's a lot of Ben and I have a lot of feelings. People are gonna disagree with it because I've seen it online and I disagree with those takes, so prepare yourselves.
I have sworn off internet discourse. Says the person hosting a podcast, which is essentially just internet discourse. I just have sworn off of a lot of it because I hate it.
No, that's fair. I have to take breaks. And the people in my Instagram DMs know how I feel about Twitter. We are constantly, Michael in particular, if you're listening, knows, are always like running to each other's Instagram DMs like, fuck Twitter today. Like, don't go over there.
That's hilarious.
So then we cut to Elle. And she is getting her acceptance letter / art show notification from Lambert, which is so exciting.
With her acceptance letter, I have a grammatical question.
Ooh, okay.
So in the email, right, you know, they're telling her that her piece is going to be displayed in their Here and Queer exhibit. And Here and Queer is in single quotes rather than double quotes, which is what I would think to put that in. And I don't know if this is a UK thing, if this is just like across, you know, all Anglophonic countries, if this is the grammatically correct way to do this, and I've just never noticed. Is it a grammatical error in the email? I have no idea. If anyone knows what's up with that, why it's single quotes instead of double quotes, I'd love to know. I did a cursory Google, which did indicate that single quotes are more of a thing in the UK.
Okay.
But yeah, it just like stood out to me. I've been grading essays lately, so my eyes are kind of trained on these kinds of things right now. And I was just like, that's interesting.
That's fair. Good catch. Good question. I'm excited to hear what people tell us. So then we cut to Tao, and he's dancing around his room. Will Gal dancing is one of my favorite things about this show. Every single time it is so fucking good. And I really want them to release just like a full outtake reel of him dancing. Like, I want to see, like, obviously these were the ones that got chosen to put in the show, but there's so many more moves out there that we haven't seen. I just know. Yeah. And I just really want to see it.
And it's 100% improv.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no way this is choreographed. They just put some music on and tell Will to vibe.
Yep.
And vibe he does.
Slays every time.
Oh my God. It's great. And then Yan comes in. It's like, you're in a good mood. And this whole conversation, she knows. She 100% knows. She has been stalking their Instagrams this whole trip. She knows what's up. She just wants to hear it from Tao.
You could tell when she peeks her head in through the crack in the door that she knows. She already,
I love her. She's like, anything I should know about? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And I like that he draws it out. He's like, maybe. And he's like, maybe me and Elle decided to get together. And she loses her fucking mind.
She does. She runs over. Tao, like, picks her up in the hug. It's precious.
It melts my heart. I love Tao's relationship with his mom. They're so close. And it seems like they have a really tight family in general, like overall extended. But like, we know that they lost his father. And that is something that they went through together that no one else will really be able to understand. So they are on a different level. And I feel like you can really see that they bonded through that experience instead of it creating animosity in space, because that also can happen a lot. I also think it's really nice that in this show we get to see such a like loving and trusting dynamic with the boys and their moms, because I feel like we don't see that a lot in media. So it's just really heartwarming, and I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah. So off mic, I told Ashley that I have, what did I say, 9 potential favorite quotes of the episode. And I haven't decided on one yet, so I figured I would just share them all with you as they come up. And by the end of the episode, I'll have one picked out as my ultimate favorite. But this scene brings us quote of the episode nominee number 1, which is Yan saying, "I knew it would work out. Oh, and Elle is the most special girl, the perfect girl for my perfect boy. Oh, I have to call Popo and tell her the news, and then I have to call Auntie Lee and Auntie Say."
So good.
You just know, like, I don't know the, like, relationship between these particular women, but you just know they have a group chat.
Yes.
They have been talking for years. Yep. About Elle and Tao.
Uh-huh. Especially because she says, "Oh, we've all been waiting for this day."
Yeah.
So, like, they have actively been planning this. Yes. I love it so much.
Oh, and you know, I'm not sure which one of these people, but one of these people is already planning the wedding.
For sure.
Like, the minute Yan sends that message, they've got venues bookmarked, China patterns, like...
I don't know why, but my gut tells me it's Auntie Lee. Like, that just sounds...
That's what I was thinking!
That sounds like the sassy aunt that probably is a little more involved.
Yeah. It's so good.
And he's like, "Mom, like, we haven't even actually talked about being boyfriend and girlfriend." And I love that she's so excited that she doesn't even stop to question, like, wait, so then what did happen? Like, what? Yeah. Like, where are you at? She's just like, fuck it, it's happening, and I'm so excited. It's so cute. And he just kind of, like, shrugs and keeps dancing after she runs away. So then we get the title card. I do like this title card a lot. It's very aesthetically pleasing.
It is very aesthetically pleasing. However, because of its ties to a scene later in the episode, it, like, sours it. It, like, puts a sour note. And so I can't like it as much as I would want to. That's
definitely what holds it back from, like, being in my top title cards or whatever, because it has that connotation with it, but it's so aesthetically pleasing. We've got the pink heart stopper and the purple sari, and then we get the rainbow waves washing the sari away. It's just very well done.
And then we go to the Nelson household.
They try to, like, soften the blow by starting this shot off with Nellie's little face. Nick is hooking Nellie's leash on to take her out. David's on the couch being a little shit. Sarah comes in and says, "Stefan called and he's coming for dinner next week." And David's like, "Dad's coming to visit, sick." And Nick looks over, like, nervous, but only for a second. It's like a split second. And then he's like, "Fuck it." And he says, "Could we invite Charlie over?" And Sarah says, "What a lovely idea." And David immediately starts pushing back. And he says, "What? You're joking." And I love Sarah, just, like, she glances at him and then turns back and doubles down, which is like, yes.
This is quote of the episode, nominee number 2. Which is just her, "Do you have a girlfriend you'd like to invite, David?"
Yeah. She says, "We can invite his parents and his sister. Make it a proper dinner party out of it." And David says, "How come Nick gets to invite someone and I don't?" And here's my first rant of the episode. First off, David, you haven't even fucking asked if you could bring someone. You have not asked to invite a single person. All you've done is complain that he wants to invite Charlie, and you're making the assumption that you aren't allowed to bring anyone because you're a prick.
Like, obviously, if Nick is allowed to invite someone, if you had someone to invite, you would be allowed.
Yeah. I love that she doesn't even wait for a response. She just
walks away.
Says, "Do you have a girlfriend you'd like to invite, David?" And then leaves the room. It's like, fucking beast.
My note for their, like, react, like, because it cuts to Nick, and my note here is, "Nick is very pleased, and so am I." I do wish there had been a cutaway to David's reaction, but I will just stick with Nick's kind of, like, satisfied little like smile.
He's like, I love that our notes were almost the exact same because mine says, Nick looks very pleased at this. I wish we had gotten to see David's face, though. You just know that he is seething over there. I love it so much. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to the spring living room.
Yes. Tori, I have missed you these past 3 Paris episodes.
Yes. I'm so glad she's back.
Yes. They're playing Mario Kart. And Charlie is also dominating here. So just continuing the Charlie is best at Mario Kart narrative. And Charlie's talking about how Tori should have gone on the trip. And here we get quote of the episode nominee number 3. Tori, my summer is for sleeping, not visiting old museums. Same.
Except I would not turn down a trip to Paris.
That's true.
So then Charlie gets a text from Nick, or I'm sorry, an Instagram message from Nick that says, would you and your family want to come to a dinner party at ours when my dad is here? And Charlie breaks out in a smile, and he turns to Tori and says, we've been invited to Nick's for a dinner party. Tori pops back instantly with, wow, Mom will love that. And he's like, what? What do you mean? And she says, she's not exactly Nick's biggest fan, is she? And he says, well, maybe this will help her see how great he is. And I do think it does. I think that she is fully won over by the end of this episode.
Yeah. But then. So did you perchance write down what Ben said? Because my note here only says, Ben needs to fuck right the fuck down the toilet. Parentheses. He texts Charlie again, the entitled fuckwad. Do you not remember what he said to you at sports day? And I did not write down what the
I do have the messages. I have them. Ben messages and says, saw you read my message. Need to talk to you. Back-to-back messages.
Bomb.
My note says, this motherfucker. I swear to God, I'm going to explode by the end of this episode from trying to hold in the sheer amount of disdain that I hold for this little piece of shit. Mm-hmm. He continues to ignore Charlie's boundaries and push himself on him. Charlie hasn't replied to you or spoken to you since what, sports day? When he told you to go fuck yourself? Like, dude, get some fucking therapy and deal with your shit, my guy.
Yeah, because even like all the times in Paris that he tried to talk to Charlie, Charlie ignored him. And it was like Tao or Nick or someone else telling Ben to fuck off.
Stop. Fucking stop. And I have more on this.
Stalker behavior.
But for now, I will leave it at that. Get your shit together, Ben. Mm-hmm. So then we get this little text montage of Elle's announcement that her art is going to be shown. She posted on her Instagram. I also love her room. I love the leaves on her wall. I love everything about her room. And then I just wrote down that it's called the Here and Queer exhibit with a note that says, hell yes, girl, you blast that shit all over the internet. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to read out the stream of texts that come through.
Yeah.
Tara says, Elle, ! Art exhibit. And then Darcy says in all caps, you're amazing. Nick says, OMG, Elle, congrats. Charlie just says, wow, with 2 exclamation marks. Isaac says, we're all coming, by the way.
Yeah. Isaac book watch. He's reading Boy Erased. It is a Oh, that's not even the full title. Jeez. Boy Erased, a memoir of identity, faith, and family by Gerard Conley. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong because it's spelled very strangely. But yeah, this was actually adapted into a movie a couple of years ago that I did not see. But the movie starred Nicole Kidman and Russell Crowe.
So question, do you think Isaac saw the movie and then read the book? Or do you think that he's reading the book without ever having seen the movie?
Isaac is a book before movie person.
I feel like he's a purist, yeah.
Isaac is a book before movie person. To be honest, I had kind of forgotten about the movie until I was like, oh, hey, wasn't that also a movie?
I just could see Tao forcing it to be like a movie night movie, and then him being like, but I think even so, if that came up, Isaac would be like, no, I'm putting my foot down because this is on my to be read list, and I'm not watching the movie before I read the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, just some thoughts I had.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get Sahar saying, yes, we have to be there. Sahar, ma'am, what in the 90s Taco Bell is this wallpaper in her room? Did you notice?
I can't quite call it to memory.
It's like 90s Taco Bell, just like triangles and circles and neon colors and like, so I love it.
Like the bowling
arcade
alley?
Floor. Yeah. It's so cute. Also, her shelf is a skateboard. So cute.
Iconic. I love
There's
you so
like
much.
a photo of, it's like a framed, clearly bought from the store photo that's like, it's like a flame that is blue and pink, and then it's like green or yellow. I couldn't really tell because it's not in focus if it's like a lime green or if it's like a yellow. And it just says in all caps, "Let's go!" with 3 exclamation marks. And I also love Sahar's profile pic. She's like got her guitar pulled up and she's like biting it. It's very cute. I just love Sahar. Yeah, so good. And then we get Tal, and he says, he types, "So does this mean you're leaving us?" And then he thinks about it and he erases it and he says, "So did you get a place?" And
character growth
is growth. Yes. Love it. I love it.
I wrote, Tao less excited. So does this mean you get no, does this mean you're leaving us? And then, but then he deletes it, which is what we call character growth. Thank God.
Yes. I'm so proud of him. He recognizes, I think he's recognizing that when he is feeling like he might lose someone he cares about, he lashes out. And so he is learning to pause and reset. And he comes in with supportive questioning rather than aggressive accusations. And we love to see that growth.
Yep.
And Elle says, or types, "I got in." And then she thinks about it and deletes it and says, "No, not yet." And I hate it. I hate that she's holding back her enthusiasm and excitement for her accomplishments. But I'm really glad that they resolved this in this episode.
Yeah.
Because if they had dragged it out, I would be so fucking frustrated. So then Tao replies, "But great news about the art exhibition." And then Tara says, "We need to go shopping for art exhibition outfits." This answers your question about why she was wanting to go shopping if she already had a prom dress.
Yes, I just forgot.
I did too. I just like, when I was watching and making notes, I was like, oh, this is why. That makes sense. And then Darcy says, "And prom outfits." And then Tao starts questioning, "How do we get to Lambert? It's far away." And Charlie says, "Train, Paris squad day out." And then Nick sends a party emoji. Isaac sends a red heart. I love how supportive everyone is of her. It makes me feel so warm and happy to see them like flooding her with love and support.
And we have Darcy, who is walking home, and the like music gets like dark and anxious, and she takes a deep breath, and we see her house, and there's just this like dark, swirling purple animated cloud coming out from the door. And it hurts. It's like a punch to the gut.
Yeah.
And I, without getting into too much detail, it just hits in such a specific part of my soul.
Yeah.
And damn.
Yeah, I'm referring to that as the anxiety smoke.
That's a pretty good description of it.
And she's like so happy and in such a good mood, and all the shots of them texting, and then as soon as we pull out and see where she is and she puts her phone in her pocket, her entire demeanor changes.
It's just like this miasma of like fear. Anyway, we get a gorgeous like drone shot of the town. I'm like, this is beautiful. A+ cinematography work, drone camera operator. And then it like cuts down to on the street where everyone is, minus Sahar. Sahar is not there.
She's not, right?
Yeah.
Or Imogen.
Yeah, no Imogen, no Sahar.
My note here just says in all caps, "The outfits clap, 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 clap." Literally, they all look so good. And then I have like a short description of what they're all wearing.
Please do.
Charlie is in like a rust orange, and Nick is in like a seafoam green. Tara is in pink and orange, and Darcy has this like purple button up with multicolored daisies on it that I want. Mm-hmm. I want all of Darcy's outfits from this season, but Tao is in dark blue, and Elle has on a brown shirt with like green and orange and white flowers on it. Mm-hmm. And Isaac has on the most adorable overalls. Mm-hmm. And I also love all of their umbrellas.
Yes.
And then I also wrote down the dialogue that is happening as we drop in. Tal says to Elle, your 11 prom is coming up. How are you feeling about it? And she says, good. Which I thought was cute. Uh-huh. Tara says, everything suits you. And then Darcy replies with something, but I tried so hard to make it out and I just couldn't. And it's not in the subtitles. So I'm not really sure what Darcy is saying. If anyone has figured it out, let me know. Nick is saying, just like maybe a gray. And Charlie says, okay. And then Nick says, a light gray. Or maybe, and then they get cut off because Isaac says, I'm going to catch up with you in a bit. I said I'd meet up with James. I have to think they're talking about suits because he does end up in that like gray suit. Mm-hmm. But then this is where it kind of takes an uncomfortable turn because he interrupts them and says that. Darcy kind of cheers and says, oh my God, they're gonna kiss. And everyone giggles. And Nick says, have fun. And Charlie says, good luck. And Isaac just like rolls his eyes and says bye. And the pressure is like building. You can feel it getting tighter and tighter. And he's gonna explode. And we're gonna see it soon, but it's not looking good at this point. Mm-hmm.
And then they're in the shop, which just given the vibes, I'm assuming it's like a thrift store or like secondhand consignment kind of deal.
For sure.
Tara sees a suit and says that Darcy should try it on.
And Darcy's pretty hesitant about it at first. But you can tell that she does really want to try it on. And then once Tara kind of like pushes her and says, the lining matches my dress. You should try it on. She says, okay. And she like does this little dance and she's smiling so big. You just know that she's like, gonna love it.
Yeah, I have notes about the suit later on after she like emerges from the fitting room, but I have more Ben hate.
Yeah, same. But first, we got to Charlie. Joe's curls in this particular scene are fucking perfect. They're so good. So good.
You want to know why? He probably hasn't fucking touched them.
Yeah, true. Nick's been able to keep his hands off.
Anyone with curly hair, leave them alone. Leave them alone. A quick flip and shake if they need a refresh. Leave them alone.
Yeah, then Ben messages again. Twice in a row. I hate that he sends them back to back. But he says, please, Charlie, I have a lot to say to you. He does not owe you the act of hearing you out.
Yeah.
He has not given you any indication that he might even a little bit want to hear from you. Mm-hmm. And I get so mad because there are people out there like him who will push and not stop. And I have experienced it. Yeah. I'm not going to get into it, but I still get messages from this person like twice a year. And I have not spoken to them since 2018.
Yikes.
And every single time I get a text, it sends me into a spiral. I get so anxious. And just like every time that a message from Ben pops up, I can feel Charlie's stomach drop. I can feel it, the tension in his body. And I just like, I get nauseous on his behalf.
Yeah. On a lighter note, my note here, right? Like, so Ben says, I have a lot to say to you. And then my note says, I have a lot to say to you, Ben. Leave Charlie alone. You learn nothing at all.
It's so frustrating. It's
also, so the thing that, and I can talk about this more when we get to the, scene that we all know is coming. But the thing that's so frustrating and exhausting about all of the Ben stuff is that we had such a satisfying narrative conclusion to that storyline in season 1. Why are we
dragging it out
so long?
And there were other ways to do the Imogen storyline. It didn't have to be Ben.
It didn't.
So,
and he was front and center in all of the marketing too.
Yeah, which was gross. I did not like it.
Why the fuck?
But he doesn't have to think about it for too long because Nick walks up immediately.
I was like, my next note is actually, thank God Nick shows up.
Yes, yeah. And he says, I think I'm going to go to prom. And Charlie smiles and says, yeah. And Nick gets so flustered and so nervous. He's like, yeah. Would you like to be my prom date? And Charlie splits into a huge grin. And he says, really? And my note is in all caps, Charlie, seriously, my guy, why are you so shocked? He's obsessed with you. And then Nick starts to backtrack and he says, I don't know, maybe it's stupid. Sir, do you see that boy's face? And Charlie cuts him off and he says, no, it's not. We might get a lot of attention and I don't want to wear matching suits. And Nick says, oh, me either. And then they just have this like little giggle and they agree. The way that Charlie Spring looks at Nick, like, oh my God. He is so in love. He literally has hard eyes. His eyes are like fucking sparkling. It makes me all giddy. I paused it on this on accident. And then I came back and was like, oh my God, look at that little cutie's little face. He's so in love. It just like, I got so emotional just looking at the paused screen.
I have some notes about this from like a character perspective as well. Because like, so I know that prom is like a bit more of a low-key thing and like promposals aren't like a thing to the same level as they can be in the US.
Right.
But like, even leaving that aside, I'm really glad that it's just like a very casual like conversation between the two of them, because I think that if they had made a whole big deal out of like Nick asking Charlie to prom, it would have been really antithetical to everything about these two characters.
Yeah.
And like where they're at in their relationship and just everything.
Yeah.
Darcy, on the other hand, would have 100% freaking had a parade down the goddamn high street with a freaking baton and a banner and I want that out.
I agree. Yeah. Which we don't really get to see them talking about it because they already are like...
Yeah, it's like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, they just know they're going together.
Yeah, from the minute that they find out that there's a prom, it's just like... Yep.
Yeah. So then we cut to Tara standing next to the mirror, and Elle is like modeling dresses. Tara says, this one's pretty, and Elle says she doesn't think it's the one. And that's when Tara starts to like dig a little. She's like, what is up with this art show? Like, they agree to show your art, but they haven't let you in. So you're good enough to be highlighted, but you're not good enough to get in.
Yeah.
And Elle just like can't even hold back the little grin she gets. And Tara says, you got in, didn't you? And the squeal that comes out of Karina. This is the one that I was talking about when I mentioned her squeals before. It's like a dog whistle. Like it's just so high pitched and perfect. And Elle says, don't tell anyone. She like shushes her and she looks over and she says she doesn't know how Tao will take it.
So my thing with this, and like it stresses me out a little bit every time. Because I'm like, on the one hand, I think Elle is very valid in feeling like this. Given the everything about season 1 Tao.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, also given the everything about season 1 Tao, Elle knows that with Tao, like the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be. So for me, I'm just like, Elle, you need to, like, I know that you want to just live in like your happy new relationship bubble, but the longer you draw this out, like the worse it's going to be.
That's a good point.
Like, obviously, by the end of the episode, it's resolved and, like, best case scenario for everyone involved. But just in this moment, without the context of later in the episode, I'm just like, oh, no, we can't, no, not this, not again.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but you're so right. Especially, and she would be the one that would know that the best because she got to see, like, the genuine... in real time reactions in season 1 with him. And
that was the thing that upset Tao the most was that Charlie didn't tell him. Like, it wasn't even like the fact that Nick and Charlie were together. It was the fact that no one told him and that he was out of the loop. And yet we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And, like, I know that part of it is they're, like, setting this up so that they can show his character growth later in the episode. But it also is just, like,
yeah.
Bad choice.
You're going about it the wrong way. Yeah, for sure. We get this silly cut of the boys where Nick is saying, oh, no, there's a bit missing. And then we see him taking pictures of Tao with 6 pairs of sunglasses on, and Charlie is getting more, and they're like fully, like he has several on his eyes, right? Stacked, and then on top of those, they go across his forehead and all the way over on top of his head. And Tao is like posing with his arms out. And Elle is just telling Tara, like, the whole time we're seeing this, that she hasn't decided yet. And I really would also like to see the outtakes from this. Like, I would like to see the building of this sunglasses structure we have going on Tao. I want to see the photos that Nick took, release them. I know that camera was actually, that phone was snapping photos, so let me see them. And so Tara agrees not to say anything. And it's in that moment that Darcy comes out in this gorgeous suit with her fucking yellow Crocs.
I love it. It's iconic. I love it. I love it so much. Like, unironically, adore the suit with the yellow Crocs.
Tara, all thoughts have lost, or like have left her brain about Elle, because she says, oh my God, and takes off running towards Darcy, and she says, you look amazing. And Darcy says she doesn't know if she can afford it. She doesn't have much left after Paris. And I'm like, how do you have anything left after Paris? That party had to be so expensive.
With the freaking $40 glowing orb and all of
like neon lights and streamers and vodka
and like I start crying because like everyone is like digging into their pockets to like find, like, scrounge up whatever spare cash they have.
I know.
Like, this is queer community, and this is what family really is. And like this moment for Darcy, like, is so important, especially, and like I know that it's intentionally contrasting the scene at the end of the episode with her mom, who is very not supportive, but I just start crying, and like Darcy is just beaming with like gratitude and just confidence. And I really think that if they do decide to go forward, as they've kind of like alluded that they might be, with like Darcy exploring gender and like possibly being non-binary or trans, this is going to be like a central moment, a pivotal moment in driving that storyline forward.
Yep.
And it just gives, it's so well done. And like, yeah, because like they have it like centers on Darcy like beaming, and it like pulls out and everyone just like around her and holding her and supporting her. And I'm just like, yes. It's just so incredible.
It makes me cry too.
Yes. And then also, as a side note, there is a mannequin just to the right of the screen with like this pink tulle dress with like a sparkly champagne colored jacket. And I'm obsessed with it and I want it.
I didn't see that. I'll have to pay attention.
It's like exactly the kind of thing for, I was like, ooh, shiny, ooh, pink, ooh, pretty.
I love that.
So then we go to the bookstore.
Yes.
And this is where I make my note about Isaac's outfit. I love the like button up with the like the little like flowers on it with the overalls. And then I realized, I was like, wait, is Isaac my fashion icon for this show? Because I think he might be like my personal style icon on this show. I was like, I would totally wear that.
Yeah, he has some great outfits. He looks so nervous.
He looks like he's gonna fucking puke.
He's like wringing his hands together. Which I would feel that way too.
Yeah. And in the background, just really quick, we have 2 books that I could make out the covers of. The first one is Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera, which I have not read, and I'm very sorry. It's like one of those books that I feel like I should read, and I just haven't, because do you know how many books there are that I feel like I should read? Millions.
I also have that. I have the ebook, and I just haven't sat down and read it. but it is on my list.
But the other book that's in the background that I can make out is Loveless.
And I have read that one.
I haven't read Loveless.
I love it so much.
But I just thought that it was poignant that Loveless is the Alice book that is in the background for this scene.
Yep. But so James comes out and says, sorry for making you wait, but some man just bought like 15 of the cloth-bound Penguin classics. And Isaac is like, wow, that's like life goals. And then they share like a nerdy little giggle about it. It's so cute.
So I was curious. Because I
had to look it up.
They're not like crazy expensive for books, but like they're like $25 a book, which
that's
is
expensive
not,
for a teenager.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not bad for like in terms of like buying hardcovers, but the idea of being able to drop the cash for 15 of them
all at once
in one fell swoop, like I am an adult with adult money, and that's a lot of money. Because that's several $100s in books.
Yeah,
and I am not allowed to spend that much money in a bookstore.
So after they have the dream goals giggle, there's a little bit of a awkward silence, and then James just jumps right in and says, so I'm guessing you didn't feel the same about me then. And then we get this little like low-key monologue from Isaac that is so heartbreaking. He says, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel when I have a crush on someone. I read all of these books where people fall in love, and I still have absolutely no idea. I thought I might feel that way for you, but then we kissed, and I just knew that I didn't. I think there might be something wrong with me. And my heart shatters into 5 million pieces. But James is so quick to... I just love James. I just love him. And he immediately says, there's nothing wrong with you. And then he thinks for a second, and then he says, you probably just haven't met the right person yet.
Which, like, is so heartbreaking because, like, in that moment, James is, like, acknowledging, like, I'm not the right person. And, like, at that age, that must hurt so much. Fucking much.
And to have the emotional maturity and, like, self-awareness to acknowledge that and to say it out loud with the person and, like, process that together is a lot. That's a lot for that age group to be able to, like, pick up on and discuss.
But then at the same time, it's, like, the double-edged sword of, like, you probably haven't just found the right person yet, implying that there is a right person, and, like, there's a lot happening in that one sentence.
Yeah. And this is when I was like, Loveless is right behind you. Just turn around and read that one. I hope that they can be friends. I hope that they form a friendship. They obviously have a lot in common. And I think that Isaac could stand to have another bookworm friend that he could chat with. We get like this awkward silence. And then Isaac makes his way back out on the street. And I love this little conversation we get them having. Darcy is saying, if we don't win best dressed. And Tara's like, are we going for that? And then I couldn't tell who says it, but one of the others says, is that a real thing? And that's when Isaac walks up. And Elle is the one to put pressure. I thought that was interesting that it was Elle that is like, did something happen?
And also it's just like, Elle, this was you 3 months ago.
Right.
Like, you were in this position 3 months ago, and you did not enjoy it.
Yeah. And Charlie chimes in and says, something definitely happened. And Darcy says, did you kiss? And Isaac snaps. And he says, can you guys just shut up? I get that you don't think that my life is interesting unless I have some kind of romantic drama going on. But I'm sorry to break it to you. I don't like him back, okay? You can all carry on with your day now.
It's so good. I am so glad that they gave Toby more dialogue to work with this season. Just because he's so good. Like, every time he opens his mouth, it's great.
It's so good, yeah. I love feisty Isaac.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. It's my favorite thing to come out of season 2. But, like, also, I'm just so proud of him for saying that, because it can be really hard to tell your friends to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Even when they need to. And, like, he's still figuring all of this out. And all of his friends are now in relationships with each other, which must be so difficult, you know?
And, like, isolating.
Yeah. And they've all been gossiping and giggling about him and James, and he was there through all of the Nick and Charlie stuff and all of the Tao and Elle stuff. And he definitely knows, like, that's how they were about this. That's definitely what's happening behind the scenes, like, when I'm not here, about me and James, and I just don't feel it.
And it was clearly something that he wanted and was pursuing by hanging out with James and by kissing him. It's just like, it's a 1-2 punch. And I hate it. It hurts. And the way that they all fucking snap to attention, mouths closed, eyes fucking open when he yells.
They're like,
it's like, oh shit, yeah.
And like, also like, as it ends, they're like, oh, we fucked up.
Yeah. And Charlie is like, oh shit. So he like takes a step out from under the umbrella and he says, Isaac. And Isaac is not having, he's like pushing his way through the group now. And he says, no, I'm fine. I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about it. And turns around and walks away. And then everybody just kind of takes a minute to look worried. And then they all start walking. It's heartbreaking. I just want to hug him.
It's so well done though. And I just like.
It is. It's very well done. Like everything in this show. So then we cut to Lambert. Everyone gathers in the courtyard. And Elle walks up looking fucking gorgeous.
Love it. I love the like sheer overlay with the like bodycon like inner lay. It's great. I love it.
Tao runs up and like hugs and kisses her. And I love that everyone like gasps when they kiss as if they didn't fucking know all this information already. It's just so funny that they're all like,
yeah.
And Tara's like, how are you doing? And Elle says she's nervous. And everyone is like, don't be nervous. You're going to kill it.
I love when they go inside, right? So I love Isaac like offers an arm to escort her in, but in his other hand, his book is still open.
Yeah.
By the way, because Isaac book watched, the book in question is We Have Always Been Here, a queer Muslim memoir by Samra Habib. And I would just like to say, this is kind of, I don't know if this friend watches, but a friend of mine, Amira, read this book 2-3 years ago at this point and told me about it, and it has been on my TBR ever since. And Amira, I'm very sorry I still haven't read it. But she very much liked it and had good things to say about it. So it was kind of cool to be like, oh hey, that's that book that Amira read told me to read years ago.
That's cute.
Yeah.
And also like Isaac, man, always on point, reading whatever is pertinent to the situation. Good. So good. So we see like this little cut to her covered project, and we can see the little like tile with
placard.
The placard. Yeah. Yes, there you go.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And so we see that it's called Safe Space, and that it is acrylic and pastels on canvas.
Safe place. Because I almost did that a few times too.
Huh. Well, I wrote that down wrong then.
I have questions, though, because hers is the only piece that's, like, covered and is going to be unveiled. Why?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What's happening? Because I'm also, like, Naomi and Felix are here, because we see them, like, minutes from now. Do they have art in this show? They are both queer and also presumably got into Lambert, because otherwise what the fuck was the point of them?
Right.
So, like, is there art here? Is this, like, an extra tier of, like, not only you were accepted, but you're being featured in an exhibit? Like, is this something, like, an additional honor that Elle is receiving for, like, being, like, the most outstanding or exceptional piece? Explain. Someone.
I have questions, yeah. Like, I'm sure it's just, like, for dramatics for the show, but, like, seems a little unfair.
I just, like, yeah, it's for, like, dramatics in the show, but also, like, there needs to be an internal logic to the dramatics of the show. And, like, at this moment, I'm like, what? Like, it's not, like, immersion breaking or anything. It's just one of those things where I'm like, huh?
Yeah. Did they give this tour guide a name? Because this was the tour guide when Elle was, like, touring Lambert.
Kira, the tour guide.
Kira. Okay, Kira comes up, like, as soon as they walk in, and is like, Elle, I love your piece. I'm so excited for it to be revealed. And then she drops a bombshell and says, I can't wait to see what art you make when you start with us in September. And Elle's face is like, fuck. Yep. And everyone pauses, and Nick, like when she turns around, we see Nick first, and he's kind of like looking curiously at her but smiling. And then Isaac asks, you got in? And she says yes, and everyone celebrates, but Tao just like freezes. And this is when I was like, well, here we go. Like the first time I watched it. But he schools it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then Elle looks back at Tao, and he immediately diverts his attention elsewhere.
Yeah.
And he has to look away to be able to school himself, but he doesn't look angry or storm off, and we call that growth, bitches. Yes, sir. And then we cut to Isaac. And he walks up to this really cool piece of art with like a bunch of hanging designs.
They're all like love letters and like love cards.
Yeah. And Crush Culture starts playing.
Which is just perfect.
So good. It's so good.
The artist, whose name is Alex, the artist, Alex, comes over and says, that's mine.
Yeah.
And Isaac is like, I love it. What's it about? And I'm like, same. Like, it's so pretty. I don't get it. So Alex says, basically, it's all about my experience being aromantic and asexual. Like being in a world where romance and sex are prized above everything else when you don't feel those forms of attraction. Growing up feeling that something about you is different, but you don't have the words to describe what it is. But then, freedom, the euphoria of freeing yourself from those pressures and expectations.
Cue the leaves.
Cue the most perfect music cue to ever cue, because this stops. Isaac just like feels like the whole world has opened up, and the music goes, Crush Culture makes me want to spill my guts out. And it just...
I don't know what they're paying the music supervisors, but it needs to be more.
Oh, yeah. Much more.
Nail it every single time. Give them a raise.
It's so good. And like Isaac genuinely looks like he's found the answer to the meaning of life.
Yeah. I love that he gets a leaf moment here. I think it's really important that we see characters being given these big emotional quote unquote leaf moments with platonic interactions / solo moments of discovery, and not just showing it through romantic relationships, but that it can come from within, all on your own. Like you can give that to yourself. And I mean, I guess that's the whole point of highlighting an ace or arrow ace storyline. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, well done. It works. Thank you for your service, Alice Oseman.
It's great. And like, I think it's important because it's like, this is probably, yes, you're writing it so that the character of Isaac can have this moment, but also there's definitely teenagers watching this.
Yeah.
Having that exact same thing happen to them in real time. And it's just like the magic of this show.
And I'm sure that this also pulls from Alice's own moments of discovery.
Yeah. I think that like kind of is like what makes the like short little monologue here so powerful, is like it's almost like Alice's voice kind of coming in for a moment. Yeah. And it's all so well done.
It's beautiful.
And then we have Elle, Naomi, and Felix looking at the like still covered like, artwork, and Felix is like, can we just have a peek?
They're like begging, and she's like, no, all will be revealed.
And Felix like puts on like a grumpy face, and it's a very good like grumpy pout. It's like, it was quick. It was like a blink and you miss it kind of thing. And I just briefly caught it, and I was like, that was good.
Adorable. I'll have to look.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Tara and Darcy, and I didn't mention it earlier because we were focusing on Elle and her entrance, but this Darcy outfit is my favorite Darcy outfit. It's so good with
I love her hair.
The green washed jeans and the like green and purple crop top the half up, half down buns. It's just chef kiss. Mm-hmm. It is the best. I love it so much. And green and purple are my favorite colors. So that probably is why I'm so obsessed with it. But I don't care. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm. Can we just leave it at that and not talk about the texts from her mom?
I mean,
it's our show. We could.
It's true. I mean, her mom just says she didn't give her permission to go and that she needs to get home now. And I will say this is progress, like, because in the museum, when Tara has her phone and her mom texts, she snatches it back. Like, she is not letting her see. And at this point, she's like openly showing these texts to Tara. Mm-hmm. So she is like slowly opening up and coming out, which I think, you know, the birthday party and the discussion that they had drunkenly in the bathroom after definitely was a turning point for them in this area and opening up and coming together more. So it's nice to see it happening, even though it's a shitty thing. And she says that she already told her mom she would leave early and that literally nothing she does is ever good enough. Too many of us can relate to this, I'm sure.
Yep.
But then we get fun stuff. Go ahead. Yeah. I wish everyone could see you right now. Alyssa is a giggling mess. Oh my God, it's so cute. Before we dive into the Sahar stuff, though, when she walks up into the frame, we can see what is behind her, which is a cutout art piece of Tara and Darcy from season 1, episode 3, Kiss, and we all die of adorableness.
I didn't even clock that that's what that was.
Yeah, it's the two of them, like, on the dance floor.
I love that.
And it's, like, backlit.
Yeah, it's like a
silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed it, but I just, like, didn't connect that it was the two of them from that episode. That's great. I love that.
And it's, like, it's cute to have the shot of, like, it's in between them. Mm-hmm. It's just very cute. I love it. So
Sahar arrives. Imogen walks over, and my notice
immediately comes over.
And like I was just like, Imogen's here because we haven't seen her yet in this scene, like in this location. And Imogen's like, Sahar, I didn't know you were coming. Sahar's like, yeah, Elle's my friend.
She's legit like a bit offended.
Yeah. So then we get to quote of the episode, nominee number, 3 or 4? I can't remember. Which is just the next 2 lines of dialogue, which is Imogen says, so you guys can't tease me about being the token ally anymore now that Sahar's here. And Sahar says, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm bisexual. So, and then just walks away. And I have a few notes before we get to the part that makes me scream. So, number 1, Sahar knows exactly what she's doing. Because she just says that and walks off, and Imogen just watches her walk away. Number 2, Tara and Darcy's laughs after Sahar walks away are incredible. And number 3, Imogen, my sweet, sweet girl. For someone who has declared themselves the token ally, you are looking extremely gay with everything about you in this scene. Yeah. Your outfit, your hair, the massive amethyst point necklace with the like beaded, like almost choker necklace. I'm like, this is not a heterosexual person.
Yay! Yeah.
Also, she notably describes herself as the token ally, not the token straight friend, which is what I know a lot of token straight friends refer to themselves as, and what we refer to the token straight friend in my friend group, my husband, as. I know it's a callback to I'm not homophobic, I'm an ally, but still,
it's pointed, yeah.
Ally to me is so not out, haven't fully come to terms with your own queerness coded, that it's
a stepping stone.
It's a stepping stone. It's a thing. And it's just, you know, things that I noticed. Before we get to the part that makes me scream, I am going to turn it over to you.
I have some notes. So when she says that they can't tease her for being the token ally, Sahar all but laughs in her face. Mm-hmm. Like her face is like what? Like, and she says that she doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm bisexual, and walks away. And my note just says, and you just know that her crush on Imogen is going to be one of those that is like, I cannot fucking stand her. And also I want to kiss her. And I think she's really adorable. Please send help. That whole interaction, like, on top of some of the other interactions from the past, but that really solidified it for me that that's going to be like a lot of their dynamic.
When you think back to Truth or Dare, and the revelation that they used to be friends, and Imogen got a boyfriend and stopped texting, the friends to enemies to lovers fanfic writes itself.
Yeah.
I will not be writing it because I don't have the time or energy to do that. Someone else, please do it. Send them all to me.
Yes. Imogen looks like she has completely, like, her brain has melted into mush upon hearing this information.
And then she, like, follows after Sahar, saying, Sahar, I didn't know. And who is the next person to make a comment?
All-knowing lesbian Tara.
All-knowing lesbian with the greatest gaydar of anyone I've ever met, except for possibly myself.
Yes.
Tara Jones. And what does Tara Jones say? She says, interesting.
My note says, I smell a future couple.
Yeah. My note says, and then Tara says interesting, and she has the best gaydar out of the group, and she's seeing what I've been seeing since day one, and I'm screaming, holy shit, is this actually real? Is this happening? Which is just me kind of casting back, astrally projecting in time to the self that I was on August 3rd, 2023, watching this for the first time, dying and being mad because Ashley had already seen the whole thing because she woke up on time for the actual release and I didn't. I'm dead.
Very good. I also love Tara and Darcy's face. I went back and paused it 2 or 3 times to, like, catch their initial reactions when we're looking at Sahar and Imogen having this shot. We can see, like, the edges of their faces. And Darcy, when Sahar says, I'm bisexual, she literally, like, her mouth drops open and she takes a breath. And then Tara makes the, face, the, like, oh. Like, we didn't know that either. This is very good.
It's so good. And I just want to live here, and I don't want to think about parts of the rest of the episode. Can the episode just end here?
On a high note?
Yeah. No, there's actually really good things that happen after this, but...
There is, yeah. So Darcy says she should go. Tara says, but you'll miss Elle's painting. And Darcy says if she leaves it any longer, it'll just make her more angry. And Tara confirms that Darcy will be coming to prom. And she says, of course, we've got matching outfits. We're going to slow dance to some cheesy song.
On subsequent watches of this season, I start sobbing uncontrollably, knowing what's to come.
Yep. Tara says she's going to hold her to that. They kiss goodbye. Her mom is just the worst. Like, we don't know anything else about her family from the comics either, except for they suck.
Yeah.
My note was just like, why does she want her home so bad? So she can yell at her more? Like, let her get out of the house if you can't stand her. But that's not how those relationships work, is it?
Nope.
And then I put the event runner / teacher question mark.
It's the principal. The subtitles refer to her as the principal.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that. She's announcing Elle's art. I do want to just say that y'all called this when in our little bonus app where we were going over the, like, first looks or whatever. And we were, like, trying to figure out what was going on in this scene where they're all looking at Elle. And a lot of people were like, oh, it's probably an art show. Like, it's definitely going to be an art show. So good job to all of you who guessed that it was an art show, because we did not. So she introduces Elle, and she says, before we reveal your piece, would you like to say a few words about it? And I feel like Elle was not prepared for this, because the way that she, like, pauses and, like, looks nervous for a second and then says okay and steps forward, like, if you were going to ask her to speak about her piece, why would you not fucking warn her and tell her so she could be prepared? I mean, she does great, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying, a little warning would have been nice.
Yeah. A few side notes before we get into what Elle says in the reveal and all of my notes therein. In the background, on the back wall, there's an exhibit, and it's some Alice Oseman-y butterflies being projected onto the wall behind the crowd. Also, Isaac is there in the front row. Elle has she's holding on to Charlie and Isaac, which is precious to me. Yeah. Isaac is holding his book open, and I'm genuinely concerned he's forgotten a bookmark.
So he just gotta leave it open.
He's just has to hold it like this the whole time, because Isaac is not the kind of person who would dog-ear pages even in an emergency. Yeah. So I'm concerned for him, and I'm also concerned for his hand, because that is not a comfortable position to hold a book in for a particularly extended period of time.
I also want to say that it's interesting placement that she's got Charlie and Isaac by her side, with Tal kind of looming near/behind them, considering what we're about to see. But also when the principal intros her and says she'll be joining them for sixth form, we get a little cut to Tal, and he smiles. And it's so nice to see him being openly proud for her when we know that he's terrified for what it means for them and their relationship.
Yeah. So Elle says, so there have been a lot of changes in my life over the last couple of years, but with this piece, I guess I wanted to capture a place that holds a lot of happy memories. Even in the darker times, somewhere I always felt safe.
Her mentioning that she's had a lot of changes threw me back to the Milkshake Cafe when she says, I've had to deal with a lot of changes in my life lately. And I just feel like in season 1, she's accepting change and she's learning to roll with it. But in season 2, she's hit the point of really embracing change. And, I feel like she's living her best life in this season. Yeah. She's got Lambert, she's got new friends, she's with Tal. And I love to see it. I love to see that development.
Yeah. And then they reveal the painting, and we get the crowd's reaction to it before we see the piece. And everyone is really happy. Tal is just so proud and in love. And there's a little bit of conflict in his eyes as well, just because of the fact that she didn't tell him that she got into Lambert, and questions of what that means for their relationship. But then he breaks out into a huge smile when the piece is actually revealed, and everyone's clapping. And the painting is of Elle, Tao, and Charlie and Isaac, pretty much in the exact same positioning that they are standing. Charlie's on one side, Elle, Isaac, and then Tao is standing towards the back in the art room.
Crying
my eyes out.
Ugly sobs.
I wish Mr. Ajayi was here.
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine how he would feel. He would be so excited that one of his former students has a piece that's being exhibited, not even knowing what it is. I want to see him there to see this, because it's his art room. And that he has worked so hard to make this a safe space for everyone who walks in that room, and to have that immortalized and recognized with a piece of art titled Safe Place is would just be I can see the smile on his face and the tears in his eyes.
I know.
And I want that for him. And then I also want the scene where he goes home and cries his eyes out while Farouk holds him.
Yeah.
And I'm just why isn't he here?
I think that is one area that the show misses for me, is the lack of Ajayi and Elle. We have had opportunities for them to interact, and yet we're never shown them interacting. And we know that Elle was in a similar position to Charlie, and that's how they met and how they bonded. So, why do we not see him checking in with her, seeing how she's doing at her new school? He cares. We know him, and inherently at his core, that is who he is. He would be following up, checking in, I don't understand why we don't see it.
Yeah. It's like a seriously big missed opportunity throughout the entire series.
It really is. The placement, to go back to that, I love that Charlie's like looking at the sketchbook with her, which I think tracks because they would have been the closest in the beginning of that little group, right? So it would be Charlie that she would be discussing her art with and like getting feedback and all that. Isaac is reading, obviously. Tao is standing, or maybe he's on a stool, it's unclear, but he's like behind them a little bit higher up, so he's either standing or like sitting on a high stool, and he's like looking over everyone, kind of like a protector. And that is who Tao is.
Yeah.
We get to see how he is at school with Charlie and the bullies. I can assume he was just as protective of Elle, if not more, because of his crush. And it's just who he is at his core as a mama bear. And so to see him like projected as that like protective presence in her life is fucking beautiful. Also, Alice got to keep this painting.
Awesome. That's great. So my note says, I'm running out of time, so I don't want to write an entire essay about it. I think it was like I was getting tired or something, right? So I'll just say the piece is titled Safe Place, but it's so much more than just a physical location. It's the fact that she has Tao and Charlie and Isaac there that makes it all the more safe. Like, obviously, we have the context and we know that that is Mr. Ajayi's art room, and we know Mr. Ajayi is making sure that that is a safe space for queer students. Like, but also, like, it's just the fact that, like, a safe place, a safe space can be so much more than an actual location. It's the people that are there and the environment that, like, makes it safe. And it also, so I'd have to go back, but it reminds me of Tao's really bad landscape from season 1 of the 4 of them in the park, like with their picnic. It just has so many feelings.
I'm gonna have to put them side by side.
Yeah.
They're so cute. I love them so much.
I love them.
So then we cut to Tao and Elle sitting alone. And she says, I'm glad you liked it. And he said, I really liked it. It was amazing, as usual. And she says, I know you're probably annoyed that I didn't tell you that I got in. And he immediately shakes his head no, but then he makes like a, well, maybe. And he says, I'm not annoyed. And she says, really? And he takes a second and he says, please don't base your decisions on how I feel. All I care about is you being happy. And wherever you are, I'll still want to be with you. And
this is also one of my nominees for quote of the episode, because look at this character growth.
Yes. I love that she's like, okay. And her face is like, is this my Tao? Like, she was not expecting this reaction from him. But I think she fell a little harder for him in that moment. I mean, how could you not? That's the perfect thing to say. And she says, but I still haven't decided yet. I may still stay at Higgs. And then they kind of like cuddle up.
That line makes me a little bit mad. Because I'm like, you're doing all of this work with Lambert, right? And setting all this stuff up for Elle as a character. I'm like, why are you gonna like dangle this possibility that you're doing all this and she's gonna stay at Higgs? Because like, if she does, it'll have cheapened a lot of the stuff about Lambert from season 2. So I'm like, why?
I think that this line was put in here to show us how nervous she is about this change. It's a big decision. And she has worked really hard for it. However, if she does go, it is going to change her life dramatically. And that's scary at any season in life, but especially when you're young and, you know, you rely on your stability of your home and your friends, and the prospect of leaving both of those things behind is a lot.
That's fair. I'm like, don't introduce this possibility to the viewer.
Yeah. I mean, in the next episode, she says, like, I want to go to Lambert. But I think it's just showing us that, like, she's still going back and forth on it because she's scared.
Speaking of scared.
Oh, my God.
And that's the end of the episode. That just about wraps up. It's over. We don't have to
talk. I do love the discussion that they're having when they walk out, though.
Yeah.
Where Nick is saying every single piece in there was amazing, and Charlie agrees, and then Nick is like, yeah, but Elle's was in a different league. And Charlie says it was. And then Nick says, it's ridiculous. And then Ben fucking pops out from behind a fucking pole.
Why is he even here? Stalker?
He stalked, yeah, because we know that he for sure, saw this on Instagram, knew that Charlie would be there. Then he fucking took a train, waited outside, because if he goes inside, he could lose track of him and Charlie could sneak out.
Mm-hmm.
But if he waits outside, Charlie has to come out at some point. And so, very predatory. I hate it.
But we get very protective guard dog Nick Nelson.
Yeah, he puts himself in between them immediately. And he asks what Ben's doing here. Ben completely ignores him, speaks directly to Charlie, and says, I need to talk to you. Nick says there's nothing to talk about. And he grabs Charlie's hand. And I will say, I don't love that Nick isn't even consulting Charlie here. He's just making that decision for him. But I do understand the instinct to protect and to create that barrier.
Yeah.
But Charlie is grown and he can put Ben in his own place, and he does.
Mm-hmm.
When Ben says, I just want to apologize properly, please hear me out. I'm not going back to Truum for sixth form. So if you really hate me after this, you'll never have to see me again. We see Charlie turn and have to manually drop Nick's hand because Nick is fucking gripping his hand so tight.
For dear life. Also, having read Solitaire,
yeah.
Fuck, I wish that were true.
Yep.
So Ben says, I'm a messed up person, Charlie. I liked you. You know that, don't you?
And here's my first note. That's not a question. It's a statement.
Uh-huh.
And he gets this smug grin on his face. This is so well practiced.
The whole thing is.
Yes.
It's gross.
It's gross.
Then he says, I know I was a piece of shit, but I really liked you. If I just had more time.
Pointed look at Nick.
Mm-hmm. I want to be like you two, but my parents would never accept who I really am.
That's not an excuse to treat people like trash or to SA someone.
Exactly.
It sucks, yes, but it's not a free pass to be a piece of shit.
Yeah. I'm sorry for everything. I just wanted something good. You were something good.
And he finishes with a smile on his face, and I hate him with my whole being.
I want to punch him.
And also, he looks sick here. Are we supposed to believe that he's been losing sleep over this? Because I don't believe that. I think that he...
Yeah, I don't know.
But this is a manipulation tactic.
Mm-hmm.
This is an attempt to make himself feel better. It's not about Charlie.
Not at all.
It's about him and how he's feeling and what he wants. And I don't think he's grown. People talk about how much he's grown, and I don't think he's grown. I don't think he has good intentions here. I disagree with that take.
Even he throughout has smiles and moments where he's trying to be happy and make himself look like he cares about Charlie.
It's all forced.
But he's still dead behind the eyes and has that same yuck.
Yeah.
It's icky. It feels so icky. I hate it. Let's talk about Charlie's response, because this is also one of my nominees for quote of the episode. The entire monologue.
So good.
It's so good. And I'm probably going to cry. Do you remember the first time you kissed me?
Ben, lets all his breath out. He's yes, yes. He, nods yes. He gets a little smile. He's really thinking that he won.
It's gross and I hate it.
And when Charlie says, you didn't even ask, the smile slides off of his face, and it's so fucking satisfying seeing it drain from his body.
Mm-hmm. You didn't pause to wonder whether it was what I wanted, and I went along with it because I had a crush and I didn't know any better. I didn't realize that you had all the control. When I eventually did realize, I thought, this must be what I deserve. Someone taking whatever he wants from me whenever he wants. Treating me like I'm nothing the rest of the time. Now, whenever anything good happens, there's a little voice in the back of my mind telling me I'm worthless and I don't deserve it. And now you want me to forgive you so you can feel better about yourself, which is exactly what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you realized what you did was wrong, but you don't get to ambush me into forgiving you. Sorry doesn't make up for everything you did to me. I really hope you become a better person so you don't hurt anyone else. But I don't want to be there to see that happen. I don't want to see you ever again.
It's such a powerful speech. And I think that the way that it goes back and forth between Charlie's face and Ben's face. And you can see Ben, his anger level, like increasing the longer that Charlie talks. And I think that that right there proves that his intentions were not good. The fact that he's getting so mad. Because he really thought he was going to come here and give that speech and things would be fine.
And it's like everything that Charlie says in the second half of that is Charlie seeing right through the facade that Ben is trying to put up. And like the manipulation that he's doing here. Like, you want me to forgive you so you can feel better about yourself. You don't get to ambush me. Sorry doesn't make up for it. Like, it's so good. I also really love the, like, I really hope you become a better person, but I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Like, I want you to do better, but get the fuck out of my life.
Mm-hmm. And as I said with Charlie shutting Harry down at the party last episode, it's so important to show him setting these boundaries and sticking to it. Like, you do not have to forgive someone who has hurt you or who makes you feel unsafe. You can walk away. Yeah. And that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I also really love the choice to blur Nick out of this scene.
Yeah.
So, like, you see him kind of, like, lingering in the frame in the back, but you can't see...
focus.
Yeah, you can't see Kit. You can't see any of his acting choices. It's the full moment is given to Charlie. And I think that that's really important and a great decision on whoever made that choice, whether it was the director or the editor. Yeah. Either way, very good. Charlie turns, he takes Nick's hand, and they walk away, leaving Ben looking at the entrance like the storm is brewing inside of him. And we get the little rainbow water that comes out and like almost touches him before he walks away. And we can like hear the sounds of the beach. And I know you mentioned in the past that this was a little heavy-handed for you.
Yes.
I like the decision creatively, but I just hate Ben so much that I'm like, he doesn't deserve that rainbow water. Like, yeah. I just...
That's part of what I don't love about it. Is like, so number one, just the visual imagery is very on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
We could have had the same visual imagery. Like, we could have had the same point come across without it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where he looks to the entrance to the exhibit and then walks away, right?
Right.
Because what the animation here is trying to, is doing is like, right, we have this exhibit here and queer, and everyone in there is out and proud and celebrating queerness. And so then we have this rainbow ocean come out, reaching out to Ben. No one in that place wants Ben there.
Right.
Right, for one. So no one's reaching out. And it comes up to his feet.
So close.
So close. And then Ben turns and walks away. He's rejecting that community.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just, I don't know. It just... And then it, like, the beach is such a, especially, like, at this point, the beach is such a Nick and Charlie thing. And I know, in theory, it's supposed to be, like, a callback to Boyfriend, where, like, this is where, like, on the beach, that's where, like, Nick really fully came into his bisexuality and decided he was going to come out. And there's, like, a link there, but I'm like, I don't want that link there. I don't want us connecting bisexual Nick and bisexual Ben.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. I think, I didn't think of it that way. I thought of it more of like, he has watched Nick and Charlie come together, come out, make all of these changes that he's unable to make. He's holding himself back. But I think that it was, in my mind, it was more of a representation of all of these things that he is turning his back on.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Uh-huh.
So then we pull up outside the Nelson house.
Hmm.
And like from outside, we can hear Stefan yelling at the TV. I put sports yells.
It sent me back in time to, like, my dad watching, like, baseball on TV. And, like, reacting to things that are happening, but, like, I'm, like, in bed trying to sleep, and I'm, like, jolted awake by, like, him, like, screaming because the Yankees won.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And, like, okay, but, like, also I get it now because I'm, like, super into women's soccer, and I woke up at, like, 6 a.m. to watch the U.S. women's national team lose to Sweden in penalty kicks, and it hurt so much, and I was screaming a lot through that.
I get it. I do get it. I don't care about sports, so I don't care about these yells, but I do understand why people act that way. I mean, I'm that way with stuff that I like that I'm watching too. I think it's interesting that we can hear him outside the fucking house.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. So as Nick and Charlie walk up, Charlie asks if they need to pretend to be platonic BFFs in front of Stefan. And Nick says that, like, they might, like, yeah, until he's able to talk to his dad about them.
And he says he's going to do it tonight.
Yeah. Charlie, and this is a quote of the episode nominee. I've lost count. But you can do it. I'm here for you, mate, pal, bro. And, like, he's, like, doing different voices.
Yeah.
The supportive straight friend.
I love the little fist bumps against Nick's chest when he says, mate. So good. And I love that before he starts joking about it, he's giving Nick a very serious look and gives him, like, a little supportive kiss.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see him. Like, he knows that physical touch, I think I've said this 100 times, but he knows physical touch is Nick's love language. And so he goes in, gives him the physical touch, and then starts taking the piss to lighten the mood and get him, like, in a better headspace to walk into this house. It's just, I just love him so much, Alyssa.
I know.
Nick is like, you did not just call me mate.
Yeah. And that's when he goes, pal.
Yeah.
Like, he goes into all of the different ones. And I just love it. It's hilarious.
And Nick's little laugh he does afterwards. And he says, Charlie. And they turn around to walk inside. So cute.
I will say, I made a note later that my notes are not going to be very good for this section, but I made it after the springs show up. But, like, it really should apply, like, starting here, because I want to get out of this scene. So I just was like, all right, just quickly, just jot down what's happening. Couple of, like, quotes that I think are important to note. And I was like, let me get out of here.
Well, I took detailed notes. So
so we took opposite approaches.
Yeah, we did. Also, the rest of this is pretty comic accurate. There's just, like, a few small changes here and there. And so Nick and Charlie, they walk inside. They go up to the couch where Stefan and David are sitting. He says, Dad, we're home. Stefan turns, gives him a hand slap and a fist bump combo in a classic bro fashion welcome. He says, it's nice to see you. And then he says, and your friend, and, like, pauses, and Nick says, Charlie. And Stefan shakes his hand and says, it's nice to see him again. He says, you should come join us. It's Toulouse and Montpellier. I'm like, how do you say it? And then I put, go sports.
Hooray, sport.
He immediately brings his attention back to the game and forgets that Nick and Charlie are even there at all. And you can see Nick is kind of like, well, I guess this interaction is over. And he, like, looks at Charlie, and they walk into the kitchen where Sarah's cooking, and she is, like, frantically cooking, like, the last bits of it. And Charlie asks if he should set the table. Sarah says, oh, you are a good boy. And I just love Charlie and Sarah's relationship.
Yeah.
Nick walks up to her and he asks how it's been since he got here. And she says, it's been fine. And then she looks at him and sees his concerned face, and she says, it's been fine, and smiles. And I can just, like, I feel this so much. She is, like, biting her tongue so hard. She's barely holding it together, having to be in his presence. She's, like, struggling with his attitude. You can just feel it.
Yeah, I am so curious what went down with these two.
Yeah. Yup. Nick looks very nervous, and Sarah says, he doesn't have to know, sweetheart. He's got no right to know. You don't owe him a thing. I would like to dig into Sarah a bit more, because she's so wonderful and she's so supportive. And yet, she lets David go on for too long every single time. We'll get there.
Yeah.
And Nick says, I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for me. And that is like, hell fucking yes, Nick.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite little moments that is a blink and you'll miss it moment. But the doorbell rings and Sarah like looks panicked for a second and then like looks down and like she goes to like answer the door and then she remembers that she's in her apron and she like looks down frantic and like takes the apron off really quickly and it's just very adorable. I can't imagine, like, it would already be stressful for me personally to have a dinner party, period, let alone my ex fucking husband who I hate being there on top of it. I hope that she has a lot of the wine that Jane brought.
Yes.
So we cut to the door and I didn't notice this until right now, but I like my order of things. I said at the door, Julio and Jane and a bottle of wine and Tori are standing there. Nick and Charlie and Sarah all answer the door. And then it immediately cuts to the table and they're eating. And they're having this conversation that is like word for word from the comic.
And it's just like basic adult small talk.
Small talk, right. Stefan says he grew up in the south of France near Narbonne. And Julio says, yeah, very near Spain. My father's from the south of Spain. Almeria. Sure. Stefan says, but your surname is so English. And Julio makes the joke about the family tree being long and complicated, which, side note, does like tie into the Jane Julio meetup story.
Sweet.
So it's very cute. We see Charlie's plate. He is cutting up his food and moving it around, but not actually eating any of it. Jane, this is when it takes a turn. Jane asks if Stefan visits often. And this motherfucker says, as often as I can. And Nick's face is like, are you fucking kidding me? And Charlie looks up and he is looking at him like he is the scum of the earth. Like Charlie Spring is shooting daggers out of his fucking eyes right now. The audacity of this man. And he says his job keeps him very busy and that he's in property development. And Sarah, we see her like kind of side profile whenever the camera's on Stefan because they're sitting next to each other. She looks like she's trying to dissociate. She's like, take me out of this conversation. And David pipes up and says that they should see some of the places his dad renovates. It's insane. And Tori looks like she's going to gauge her eyes out with her fork. Like, just fucking the, like, roll, the hard eye roll she does. It's all of us. And Stefan then says, I can't believe he has the audacity. He says, work isn't everything, though. It fucking seems like it, my guy.
You fucking walked out of a meeting with your son who you hadn't seen in a long time for a work call.
Yeah. And then David decides that it's time to be an absolute asshole and says, Dad, has Nick told you how he and Charlie met? And he says, no, he hasn't. He could have said at school, right? Because he does know that they met at school. But no. And Nick says, we got sat together in school, and then Charlie joined the rugby team. And Stefan is fully involved at that point. He's like, oh, you play rugby, Charlie. And Charlie says he isn't very good. And I would like to point out that this is a very good Jane and Julio episode, like, positively. Like, Jane looks at him like, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. And Julio is like, oh, no, that's not, like, maybe be a little nicer. It's just cute to see them like being a little supportive about the rugby situation because we haven't seen them involved in any of Charlie's rugby stuff. We don't know their opinions on it. We don't know anything. So to see them being like, oh, don't say that about yourself, like it's just nice.
Yeah.
David says Nick was obsessed with getting Charlie to join. Wonder why.
How the fuck does David know anything about Nick wanting Charlie to join the team? He was in Glasgow. He was at school.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's just being a dick. And Tori looks over. She's fucking pissed. She's all of us.
What is your problem?
Yeah. And Stefan is like completely oblivious to the absolute thick tension filling the entire room. He says, I played rugby when I was in university. It's a very attractive sport to women. And Sarah rolls her eyes and I die. You know, Jane was watching her. And I love that, like, she isn't even hiding her disdain for him anymore. She's just remaining verbally civil at this point, but physically, she's like, fuck you, dude.
Because she's had some of the wine.
Right. However, she should have stopped David immediately.
Yeah.
I don't believe for one second that she doesn't know where this is going. Mm-hmm. She should have done whatever she had to at this point to get the point across to David.
Set the kitchen table on fire if you have to.
To shut the fuck up, or at least have tried. It's disappointing that she lets it go on as long as she does before addressing David. He continues by asking if either of them have found girlfriends.
It's, like, so painful how, like, completely out of, like, it Stefan is in this whole thing. Like, because everyone else is catching the subtext. I mean, everyone else knows about Nick and Charlie, but, like, he doesn't even pick up on the fact that something is afoot.
Who has a dinner party with a friend from school and their family? What was he thinking going into this dinner? It's so obvious.
I have no idea. It's so fucking...
Yeah. There's a long pause, and Nick looks over at Charlie, and Charlie's like, okay, I'm gonna handle this. And he says, no, I guess not. And Stefan says, well, there's still time. And David says, I'm not sure Nick's too interested in looking for girlfriends, really. And Tori grabs the shit out of his arm and, like, digs her fingers in so hard and says, don't you dare. MVP. Like,
and yet Stefan is still oblivious.
Yeah. She's really there for Nick in this moment, too. Like, she knows how important it is that Nick moves on his own timeline, and she's not going to stand by and watch David act like this and, not attempt to put him in his place. And she's scary. She's a scary little girl. He should be scared. And I'm just, like, very grateful for her presence.
Yeah.
Sarah tells David to be respectful at the table. They have guests. First of all, this intervention should have come long ago. Second of all, it shouldn't be because they have guests. It should be show some fucking respect for your brother.
Yeah.
And this is, like, when Nick breaks down and says, why do you always do this? And David says he's just trying to help, which, like, is a lie.
Yeah.
And he says, sorry, this is ridiculous. And we get this shot of Jane and Julio. And Jane is looking at Nick like she wants to walk over and hug him. And Julio is glaring at David. Like, Julio wants to smack the shit out of David right now.
Julio should have smacked the shit out of David. This
is one of two Julio looks in this episode that makes me think, like, just, like, want to put him on a pedestal. Like, so, I'm so pleased with Julio. But yes. And then Nick just lets it out. He says, Dad, Charlie's my boyfriend. Surprise. I'm bi, he's gay, and I was actually really stressed out about how I was going to tell you. But you know what? I don't care what you think anymore. Because you don't care to even see us more than 2 times a year. And when he says that, Stefan immediately cuts over to Jane. And she, like, sees him look at her, and her eyes go straight to her plate. She's like, and this chicken is so entertaining right now.
Yeah. She's like, I am not a part of this. Do not bring me into it. I am eating my food.
Yeah, you've been caught out. Now we know you were lying. He says, and every time I do see you, I think, this is it. This is the time when you might actually take an interest in my life. But you never do. So if you don't care, then I don't care either. And then he turns to David, and he says, and I don't know why you're acting like you are 10 years old. But your bullying doesn't affect me anymore because, quite simply, I do not care. I like who I am. I like my life. And we see Sarah kind of deflate a little and give a little smile, like some of the tension. She's just so proud, I think, in that moment. And then he says, maybe you should stay with Dad next time. Sorry, Mom. And he walks out back.
I love it. That's also a quote of the episode nominee.
So well done. He says everything that needed to be said. It's very good. David scoffs.
Yeah.
And he's like, you just gotta let him speak to us like that? And Sarah snaps. And I think this is really where the wine kicks in, because she unloads. She says, oh, David, be quiet. We've heard quite enough. And David said, it's Nick that's making a scene. He's always causing a fuss. Dad agrees. Which, like, he really is acting like a 10-year-old. Because he's supposed to be, like, what, in his 20s? Like, Who does that? And Stefan's like, you have not grown up into the man I had hoped you would be, David. That sets Sarah off.
I do want to just take a moment because Tori is sitting next to David. And so we've had a lot of times where the camera has been on Tori. Jenny Walser hasn't said a word since she said, don't you dare. But I know exactly what's going through her head. Just Jenny Walser is doing such a good job of just like responding very subtly to everything that's happening.
Yeah.
You can see the like rage seething and like boiling up in her.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Stefan tells David that he has not grown into the man that he hoped he would be.
Yeah.
Sarah goes off.
She pops off as if you have any right to say that. You barely see your children. And before we move on with the dialogue that's happening, the camera cuts over to Charlie and Julio. And Charlie looks over at Julio, and Julio gives him the, like, go check on Nick nod. Like, go, you like, need to go outside. And Charlie is fucking gone. He's up and out and walks out.
Yeah, no, it was very much like Charlie communicated with his eyes, can I please get the fuck out of here? And Julio said, yes, go.
Yeah. I'm loving Julio's energy in this episode. And Stefan says, I can't say something. And she says, no, you can't say anything. You haven't earned that right. You haven't been a parent. And he says, we're not going. And she cuts him off and says, oh, we are going through this because you never hear it. And that's when we see Charlie's like walking out while we're hearing those lines. And
this is the moment where I realized that they're wearing the same clothes. And this is all happening in one day. These poor boys.
Yeah, what a long day.
Ben, and now this.
That's a long day.
Yeah.
And Nick's like leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. And he asks Nick if he's okay. And Nick says, I actually think I am. I didn't mean for it to happen that way, but it felt good to say it. And Charlie says, do you want to hug anyway? And they hug. And this is such a like, they squeeze the shit out of each other in this hug. Like this is such an emotional hug. And I just put like, sweet angels as find out. Like I cried so hard, and I've gotten to the point where I just rage through this now and don't like the rage took over, but God, it's so emotional. And then Sarah comes out. She like tries to make a joke. She's like, well, that went well. And Nick starts apologizing, and she's like, no, I'm pleased you said what you said, especially to your dad. He needed to hear it. And then I start crying again. Because he says, he's not a very good dad, is he? And she says, no, he's not. Nick says, why doesn't he care? And she says that she wishes that she could understand, but she doesn't. And she thinks it's a very sad way to exist. And that's all fucking true. And then they hug. And Charlie's just standing in the background this whole time. But he is giving Nick, like, his full attention, and he's like, giving him supportive smiles and just 100% attentive. And I hate to see Nick hurting like this, but I am glad that he stood up for himself, and I'm so proud of him for taking control of the situation because, like, David was going to out him. Like, he was well on his way to outing him to his dad, and he, you know, took a deep breath and took control of the situation and took the power back. And was able to say what needed to be said. And I'm very proud of Nick and how far he's come. And I hate this, and I hate Stefan. And yeah, I don't want to cry. So let's keep going.
So we get this like short scene of like Stefan leaving. I didn't take crazy notes about it. But he like apologizes to Nick kind of half-heartedly.
Says he wants to do better.
He's not going to do better.
Nick says, well, show it then. Don't just say it.
Yeah.
And that's when David comes down the stairs.
And I actually really like this. Because it shows that, like, it's not just Nick. Because Stefan's like, let me know when you get back to Edinburgh. David, he's like, Glasgow. And I'm just like, yes. He doesn't care about you either.
Exactly. We kind of get introduced to both of them from Nick's perspective, right? So, like, in his mind, David is closer with his dad, and his dad loves him more and pays more attention and spends more time. But it's not, that's all just his skewed perspective on it. Like, they might do rugby stuff together, it seems like, but he still has no idea what's going on in David's life, where he's looking at. And then he says, "It's nice to meet your boyfriend. I don't understand these things, but he seems like a very nice young man." And Nick says he is. And then Nick looks over at the door and is kind of like, I'm done with this conversation. So he turns back and says, "Bye, Dad." And Stefan says, Yeah, well.
You can't even say goodbye to your son?
This man fucking sucks. He knows nothing about his children. He puts in zero effort and yet has the audacity to come in here in front of guests talking like he's out here all the time, like he's this ideal father. Ugh. Like, he's a sleazy motherfucker, and I hate him, and I hate that he just, like, claps Nick on the shoulder and says, "Yeah, well," and that's how he leaves after this, like, profound moment. I get so mad. I get so fucking mad. And Nick watches him go out the door.
And then Tori, is washing her hands.
Did you notice on the sink, while she was washing her hands, there is a toothbrush that has blue and yellow bristles?
I did not notice that. I wonder whose toothbrush that is.
I put, give them raises too. Everyone gets a raise.
So she's washing her hands, and I didn't write down what David's saying, but she overhears David on the phone talking to one of his friends and just being the worst human being.
Yeah. And what he's saying is, such an attention seeker, probably his drama queen boyfriend's influence. And that's when she, like, walks out. I love the like, mischievous music cue as well.
She walks out, and, like, number one, David, why the fuck are you just, and I know the answer to this question, but why the fuck are you just sitting on the stairs on your phone? You have a bedroom. Go in there and close the door. But, like, obviously he's doing it because he wants
Nick to hear.
Nick to hear. Fuck you. And Tori just, one swift kick, sends the phone flying out of his hand. I really wish that they had shown that the phone was broken, like it is in the comic.
Yeah.
But then she says, another nominee for quote of the episode, "You are a pathetic little man. Talk about my brother like that again, and I'll end you." And David's face, I can only describe as like a blend of confused, shocked, and terrified. As he well should.
Yes. I love, okay, when she's at the top of the stairs, when she comes out of the bathroom and she delivers her line, the angle that we're at gives us the illusion of short-haired Tori Spring, which is, she does have short hair at this point in the comics. It's like, yes, pander to me. But like I said earlier, he should be afraid. I said, fuck around and find out, my guy.
Yep.
Tori is my hero. She is my queen.
As is she for us all. So it cuts. Sarah apologizes for all the drama. Jane says we're very used to drama in our house, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up, Jane.
You're the cause of it.
Yes, it's you. Hi, you're the problem. So I didn't write it down just because I just had no energy and I just wanted to get to the end of the episode. Sarah says that Nick must care for Charlie very deeply. Do you have the exact quote?
That is it. She says, it takes a lot for Nick to stand up to David like that. He must care for Charlie very deeply.
And that makes Jane pause for a moment. And then Charlie comes up and she's like, he's a nice boy when he's not distracting you from your coursework. And maybe we can have him and Sarah around in a few weeks. Notably, Nick and Sarah, not David.
Yeah. I just want to say also, like, when Sarah says that line, I read Jane's pause as like a little bit of a melty, like a little melty inside.
Yeah.
She softens a bit and I'm like, yes, Jane, come to the dark side. We have giggles and feet kicks. They're so adorable and you have a front row seat. Use it.
Yeah.
Charlie's like, yes, my plan has worked.
The Springs are all leaving and Nick follows Charlie out to say goodbye.
So before that, when Jane is saying like, oh, he's a lovely boy when he's not distracting you, maybe we can have them around for dinner. In the background, Tori and Nick are talking and Tori asks if he's okay. And he says, yeah, I'm fine. And she says, your brother's a prick. And that's the last thing we hear from them. Yeah. But I love that she's checking on him.
Yeah, because she's great and she loves them both.
Yeah.
And I love her.
Yes.
So then the Springs are leaving and Nick follows Charlie out. And Nick says, so prom tomorrow? Charlie says, yeah, we're still going together? And Nick says, yeah. And Charlie says, like, together? And Nick says, yeah, don't you want to? And then the car starts and Charlie kisses Nick and leaves, but he doesn't answer the question.
Yep. I noticed that. I made a note. And I don't know which one of them is more nervous at this point about it either. They're both a lot of anxious energy about prom. And, okay, also, as Charlie walks away, this sad-ass fucking song kicks in. And this is, again, Wolf Alice. And the song is called Blush. I just noticed that it was them again. And, like, we hear them at the end of episode 1 out with the beach. And then again in episode 6 with Bros. And then they also sing Don't Delete the Kisses, which is from Meet. And so I just made a note that they're like a Heartstopper staple at this point. And that yet again, another perfectly heartbreaking song pairing.
That goes through until the end of the episode and kills me.
Yep.
So it cuts back. Nick and Sarah are like cleaning up from dinner. Noticeably, David is not helping to clean up dinner. And Sarah notices that Charlie didn't eat much. And the camera cuts to basically an untouched plate of food.
Yep.
Nick pulls out his phone and starts searching for eating disorders and is scrolling through the search results.
I like that he doesn't waste any time here. Like, he's not putting it off anymore. But I do wish that he had opened up to Sarah now. I get that they've had a long and heavy day, but, you know, it's a lot for someone to handle on their own, especially at his age. And talking about it with someone that you trust can help you process things in a way that you don't when you're holding it all in. And I just hurt for him knowing like how anxious he is and that this is something that's going to eat at him and really affect his mental health. And I hurt for Charlie, who is, you know, actually fucking experiencing it all. And this whole situation is just like, it's painful from any angle you come at it from. And like all of those things are something that we will be digging in deeper in season 3. And as we continue on in the comics. So
I'm
going to hold any deeper thoughts on that until we really dig into the meat of it.
And then as if we aren't already completely destroyed, we go to Darcy's house. And Darcy is like sending a picture of her in her suit and says, Tara, we're going to look so cute at prom tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's a Snapchat. And her mom comes in and immediately starts patronizing her. She tells her to turn around and let her see with like a snarky fucking smile on her face. And then they start arguing. Darcy says, I like it. And she says, oh, darling. And she like laughs at her. And she says, you can't wear that. And Darcy says, I want to wear this. I'm wearing it. And her mom starts screaming. And she says, take that off this instant. And Darcy says, no. And mom says, I have had enough.
And the whole time that this is happening, like we have that same purple fog from earlier. And like the sound design is incredible because it's all like muffled. And like Darcy is just like disassociating and we're along for the ride with her.
And the song is getting louder.
It just does a lot really well. And Darcy is like, they will not laugh. My friends are supportive. My friends like me. And her mom tells her to get out of the house. Darcy's like grabbing her things.
She says, how dare you speak to me like that? And it's like, bitch, respect is earned.
Threw her out.
But she like grabs a bunch of stuff, shoves it all in the bag and runs out of the house. And the like purple anxiety smoke follows her. And she like looks around and you can see how cold it is because you can see her breath.
It's also the door slams and that kind of like brings her back into her body and back into reality. As she like looks around, he's like, holy shit.
Now what do I do? Where do I go?
Now what? And we started the episode
Exactly.
We start the episode with Tara's mom saying no more sleepovers.
So she obviously has ruled that out already.
Mm-hmm.
I did, I don't know, I don't remember where I learned this, but the actor that plays the mom, this was the first time that she and Kizzy ever met. Was doing this scene. So, well done. My notes on this are brief. I just put, Mom is totally unreasonable. She's refusing to listen to her. She's irrationally angry about this suit. She's unnecessarily cruel, and it's horrifying. And I just want to grab Darcy up and keep her away from this horrible woman. It makes so much sense why she's so private about her home life and why she hasn't come out. And honestly, it says a lot about her personality in general. This is a very terrifying and traumatic environment to be trying to survive in. And she is trying to spend every minute she can away from that, to escape it, forget about it, no matter where she is, outside of the house, because then she doesn't have to think about what's waiting at home. So she's fully in the moment whenever they're out doing stuff. And that's I think plays into a lot of her impulses and just a lot of her personality. And this is really, really tough to watch. And I'm glad that we don't see more of it. I think that we have seen enough of this scenario.
Yeah.
A lot of us have experienced it, and we don't need to dwell on the details. And that's one of the beautiful things about this show, is that, I know we've said this a million times, but it's such a good balance that Alice finds with the heavy reality of living in this world as a queer person, and the hopeful, beautiful found family friendship that can also be real and need to be shown. People need to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You will find your people. You will find your found family. And it just, God, it kills me every single time. It really is such a talent that Alice has, because it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
It's just very good.
My notes are much more brief. I wrote, this scene hurts. It's really well done with the animated cloud and the sound design and the music over it, which completely destroys me. And then the episode ends and everything hurts.
Yeah, it does hurt.
Yep.
So, did you decide a quote?
No, you give me yours.
Okay, mine is, you are a pathetic little man. Because I have so much rage in this episode, and there are not one, not two, but 3 pathetic little men in this episode. And I just love Tori, and I love this line, and it is exactly the energy that needed to be brought. I do have an honorable mention to Granny would have a heart attack if she knew I was a lesbian.
Yeah. I think I gotta give it to Charlie's speech to Ben.
Yeah.
It's just so powerful. And it's the kind of thing that I also think is going to make a difference for a lot of people who are living in a situation with a Ben.
Yeah.
To maybe
for sure
wake up and see that they're not being treated the way that they deserve, or if they're recovering from having been in a relationship like that. I think that it's just a really important all around moment. And so I think I have to give it to that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair. What'd you rate it on the scale?
2.
It's a low one.
There's not a lot of happy, squealy good times.
Yep.
It hurts.
It hurts a lot. So for me, I gave it a 2.5. The highs are high, Tao dancing and his exchange with his mom, Elle's Lambert stuff, Isaac's leaves, the way that Charlie looks at Nick in the thrift shop, being proud for Charlie and how he handled Ben, and proud for Nick and how he handled dinner and coming out. But the lows are low, real, 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 real low.
And the valleys and the pits of despair low.
Yeah, and they bring it way down for me. So I gave it a 2.5.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did do it. God, this episode is a doozy.
Yeah, but now we get to talk about Perfect.
Yes.
Which is also a lot of crying, but in a different way.
Yeah. Well, that just about wraps us up for this episode. We still are not quite bi-weekly. We're working on it. We're moving in the right direction. But this is still a podcast by two bisexuals, and we will be back soon to talk season 2 finale. Perfect.
Woo! If you want to follow us online, we are at Why Are We Cast on all platforms. And if you like this, please consider giving us a review.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.